Released in December of 2001, developed by Steel Wool Studios, we have Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, the most recent entry into the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, and also the first game to not be developed by Scott Cawthon. As someone who really enjoys the original games, Security Breach is quite interesting because this is the first ever proper 3D Five Nights at Freddy's game. But this game was riddled with bugs and glitches when it was first released, many of which have been patched out. But is Security Breach worth all the hype now that we have brand new characters such as Glamrock Freddy, Montgomery Alligator, Glamrock Chica, and Roxy Wolf? But interestingly enough in this game, Glamrock Freddy is actually a good guy and he's not a big bad villain because Freddy actually helps you throughout your journey in this game. He'll kind of guide you as to where to go, help you out, and even allow you to hide within him so you can gain invulnerability from the other animatronics. And although I've never really been that big of a fan of voice acting in the FNAF games, I thought that Glamrock Freddy was pretty cool. Now, in this game, there are very limited save points. It kind of reminds me of Alien Isolation, where you can only save at certain times, which can get quite frustrating at times, especially if you're maybe 15 to 20 minutes into a certain section and the game won't allow you to save. Meaning if you die, which is going to happen very often, you're going to have to restart from a checkpoint. But this game is very pretty to look at. There's a lot of references, such as the cupcake here, which is a mainstay in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. And we even have some of the decorations from FNAF 4, such as the little robot and the car phone toy. Now, as I said, this game just looks incredible. And with the ray tracing turned on the PS5, you see the reflections, all the lights and all the signage on the floor. It just looks great. This game, as I said, just looks great. I really love the environments. Just look at this room. This is the daycare. It looks really incredible. But of course, knowing that this is a FNAF game, you're going to be chased by somebody or something. And in this case, it's three animatronics, Monty, Rockstar Chica, and then you'll be chased by Roxy Wolf as well. In this game, you can run around and hide, and you can even watch the animatronics on cameras because, you know, this is a Five Nights at Freddy's game. You have to watch them on the cameras. You can also hide in phone booths and like little carriers and all that stuff. But most importantly, you can hide inside of Freddy, but only at certain times. So you get chased by the characters, and of course getting caught by these characters is only going to end in bad news for you. But luckily, Freddy is there for the most part, and he can help to assist you in hiding. This game still does have some bugs and glitches that are present, such as Chica right there. The animatronics in this game do look great. Glamrock Chica, Monty, Roxy Wolf, they look great, especially Glamrock Freddy. These games have some really wonderfully designed characters. Outside of the wonderfully designed environments as well, there's also these collectibles you can get in the forms of gifts, which can sometimes give you key items, or these little bags that can also give out just more lore and pieces of documentation just to flesh out the environments a little bit. But the main Pizzaplex is what the environment's called in this game. It's like a small venue almost. There's all these rooms. It's kind of like a shopping mall. And there's even the daycare center. As I said, this game just looks great. The environments look pretty cool. But for the most part, I kind of found this game's AI to be quite annoying. Like, the AI is just blatantly unfair in some instances where I was killed through a wall on at least a handful of occasions. We're also introduced to some of the security bots and even Vanessa, who does kind of play a central role in this game, because Vanessa also takes on the form of Vanny, who is an animatronic that you cannot avoid whatsoever, and you just have to try to stay out of her way as much as you can. Walking around in the environments, you will from time to time see things that are references to older games, such as the old posters from the first game. I don't think of the fun time, party time, eating time posters from the first game. At least if they were, I can't really remember them being in there. But it's always nice to see the references to the older games. Of course, this being a FNAF game, there's going to be quite a lot of material. From time to time, there will be these action scenes where you have to use the doors to shock Chica, I think it's Roxy Wolf, and Monty from trying to get into your room, while also trying to help Freddy get in. But these sections are quite simple. There's not much to it whatsoever. And really, it's just designed to just kind of delay things a lot. Which, granted, a lot of these older games do anyway. But when you're being chased by the animatronics, it just feels like sometimes you're just doomed from the start, because the animatronics can see you from pretty far away. They can run pretty fast. But my favorite were the endoskeletons, because they're kind of like weeping angels. They're really cool. As long as you're looking at them, they won't move at all. And towards the parts and service section, you can have like 15 to 20 of them on screen at the same time. Hiding from them is pretty cool because like the animatronics are kind of programmed to walk exactly where you're hiding, look around, and then just walk away. It does feel like it's kind of cheap sometimes because they don't physically see you hiding, but they just walk in front of your curtain or in front of the container anyway. Look at all these exoskeletons. Isn't that cool? All just marching in a single line. From time to time, you will unlock new upgrades for Freddy, whether it's a Monty Claw or just any sort of recommended, or in this case, required upgrades for Freddy. And some of those things are pretty cool, and there's like a whole Simon Says minigame that you have to complete in order to successfully upgrade Freddy. But the Freddy upgrades are kind of cool though because when you're inside of Freddy, this game is quite decent because the enemies can't touch you at all. We have some 5 Fast Coins references here, which is like Ultimate Custom Night, and then we have Mangle's Quest, which is one of the mini games from FNAF 3 on these arcade machines. As I said earlier, I really like seeing the references to the older games. Now, when you're being chased by the animatronics, as I said, sometimes it feels very unfair. I managed to actually glitch the animatronics in this instance. You're supposed to hide for a set period of time. I think it was 3 minutes. And by me just kind of camping in this corner, Roxy and Monty did not move at all. Apparently Roxy could see me through the wall or something like that. But either way, it held them in place just long enough for the mission to actually finish. From time to time, as I've mentioned earlier, you will find these gifts or these collectibles, like in a duffel bag. The present here, the gift boxes, can actually get you key items. Sometimes you can get upgrades, sometimes you get little figurines. And for the most part, these are just kind of designed to help flesh out the lore a little bit and act as a bit of a collectible to entice you into exploring. And then you have the party passes, which are mandatory to advance through the story in some instances, such as the mazer size, which is the worst part of this game. The mazer size is really annoying because it's basically just trial and error, but we'll talk about that just a little bit later. When you tap L1, you can summon Freddy at any time, and sometimes it kind of seems unreliable because Freddy will just run away from you, and sometimes Freddy will spawn in a very inopportune place, and he has to sit here and run at you from a distance. And it just seems like sometimes Freddy spawns right behind you, sometimes he has to walk basically half a mile to get to you. There's also are boss fights in this game, such as the Monty one in the Monty's Golf area, but you basically just kind of launch items in a bucket and dump it on them, and that's really all you do. But then again, I guess it makes sense because you're a child fighting an animatronic. This is the mazer size, the worst part of the game. It's absolute trial and error. I can't imagine how somebody has to figure out how to do this on their own. I mean, once you learn how it works, it's not too bad, I guess, but I always thought that it was just incredibly annoying just because it's nothing but trial and absolute error. And I actually used a guide to complete this part because I thought it was just incredibly annoying and I spent an hour and a half trying to fiddle with it. But of course, there is a solution that you can use to complete it basically every time. But still, it's incredibly annoying. And this section absolutely sucked and I did not like it. It wasn't cool at all. Then we have, once again, the boss fight with Monty. You have to complete the master size before you get to the Monty boss fight actually. But once you defeat Monty by dumping a giant I guess ball bucket on him, then you get Monty's Claw, which Freddy can actually use to destroy some of the gates that have the yellow chains on it, which only Monty can get to, but it just opens up more areas to explore. Usually you'll find that this game does this. The further you get into the night, the more areas that are accessible, the more areas that are open, and the more areas you can explore. Installing Monty's Claw with Freddy, as I said earlier, requires you to complete a bit of a Simon Says minigame, which is very, very simple. And then there's Moondrop, who shows up from time to time, and Moondrop is quite annoying because he basically forces you to stay inside of Freddy. And also, you can't stray too far away from him and neglect the mission checkpoint like I did there, because then he'll get you. Overall, I thought Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach was just painfully mediocre. There's nothing very special about this game. It looks cool. It looks really great. Don't get me wrong. The animatronics look really cool. There's some great environments in this game. But the game just feels unpolished. It feels like it wasn't finished. Maybe it needed more development time or what. The animatronic AI seems really unfair and unreliable sometimes, particularly with Freddy. And there's just really nothing very memorable about this game outside of the characters. Those are cool, and the environments are cool, but the gameplay is just kind of annoying for the most part. It was kind of tedious for me to play through this game, and I had not a lot of high hopes for this, if I'm being honest. But overall, I think this game's a 5 out of 10. It's just pretty mediocre. Not bad, but not great.